Welcome back to the arcade. Well, we finally got to the stage where we're ready to test out the Bally Midway card rack system test cards. We reconditioned the card cage, so we know that's good. We got a power supply. Last video we wired up the harness so we can power the card cage. And we also set up the harness for the video output. Okay, so first thing we need to do is check our power supply. Now I don't have a load on it, but we're going to check it without a load and see what it is. So first we'll check the plus 5 volts, and we got 5.13. That's good. And next we'll go down here and we'll check the minus 5 volts. And it's minus 4.51. So that should be okay. And then the plus 12 volts. We're getting 12.73. So we should be good to go with the power. Now, once we power up the boards and everything, I'll go ahead and I'll check the voltage again. And if the cards pull enough current to drop the voltage down, then we'll reset the power supply. But I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. So, okay. Now we got the power supply squared away. Just cut that off for now. And the next thing we need to do is get our boards ready. Now, in this card cage I have one of my spare board sets. It's a complete set, and in the setup for the test cards, it lists which one of these, it numbers the slots, in other words. So, in other words, the slot right here, you have your 2 RAM cards in the small end of the cage. Okay, it starts with this. The one on the end is number 1. So that's called J1. That's J2. This is J3, J4, J5, and J6. Okay, now both of these small cards are the RAM cards. Okay, the next board, I think I got these mapped out here. I don't want to guess. So, J1 and J2 are the RAM boards, and J3 is the CPU board. So the first big board is the CPU board, and then, let's see, yeah, 3 is CPU board, 4 is the pattern transfer board, and 5 is the Rom Ram board, and board number 6 is the game logic board. So these are all lined up according to the manual, how they normally come in the cage. Now, with this system, you can switch them around and put them in the cage anywhere you want to. Like if you wanted your custom chip that goes bad a lot with the heatsink on it, if you wanted to, you could put that right here where this open space is, so it would get more airflow. But right now, they have the CPU board right here, all the way back in the back of the cage next to the RAMs. So, but anyway, for testing purposes, we're going to leave everything the way it is, but we're not going to use a couple of these boards. So what I'm going to have to do is go through the setup. Now, this particular set of test boards came with this manual right here. All right, this is dated June 2nd of 1980. And if we look inside for the test procedure for the RAM test, which we're going to be testing the RAM cards first. This setup is for Space Zap. So the first thing it says to do is remove the game card. Okay, and then you remove the pattern card. And then you remove the RAM card in position J2. All right, well, step number 1 leaves out something because we're testing a Gorf board set. So there's another manual online that I don't have, but I did download it, and this is the front page off the cover. It's the Midway Card Rack System Part 1. This has the updated version for the test cards. It's essentially the same, except it just adds the extra board in there that the Gorf has that evidently Space Zap don't have. So, okay, what we want to do is the card rack test. So in other words, step number 1 is the same. It says remove game card, but then it says remove Rom Ram Card. So the game card is in J6 and the Rom Ram card is in J5. So we have to remove J5 and J6. So we'll take both of them out of the cage. This is the ROM board. We don't need that for testing. So I'm just going to put this over here out the way. And this is the game board, which has 2 of the custom I/O chips on it. We don't need this board, not for testing the RAMs. Okay, so both of those out. Now, step 3, it says remove RAM card in position J2. Okay, so these are the RAM cards. That's J1, that's J2. So we're going to remove J2. And both of these RAM cards in this cage are good cards. So we need 1 RAM card for this test, a good RAM card in J1. So we have that. Okay. Now it says do not remove the CPU card in J3. So the next big card, the first big card right here is J3. That is the CPU card. Okay. So now it says step 6, insert the card rack board tester into position J4. All right. So that means we have to remove the pattern board, right? J4 is the pattern board, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Yep. Okay. That was step number 2. I must have missed that. Step number 2, remove the pattern card, J4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Have to bear with me. This is the first time I've ever done this, so. Okay. Now I think we're down to the bare minimum. So we have 1 RAM card in J1, and we have the CPU board in J3. Okay. Now it says insert the card rack board tester into position J4. Okay. This is the card rack board tester, the one that's got the full-size edge connector on it. And this is the one that has the video cable that we made that hooks up to the DVD player. It also has this switch that has two positions, position 1 and position 2. And it also has the two ROMs on here. Now, this board evidently was last used for the pattern board, because these ROMs are for the pattern board. So I'm going to have to change these ROMs out because we're going to do the RAM test. So what I need to do is remove these ROMs. Now this board set didn't come with the ROMs for the RAM tester, so I had to burn these myself. So we're going to find out if they're going to work. So these are labeled X4 and X5, okay? X4 is right here. This is the notch end, so it goes in right here. And this one is X5, labeled X5, notches on this end. Okay, now we have the ROMs installed. Okay, now another thing, when I was looking over the instructions, if you'll notice, this board has dip switch settings on it here. Okay, so I'm not going to put it in the cage. It tells us to go ahead and put it in the cage, but once you put it in the cage, well, I reckon you could set the dip switches with it in the cage, but I'm going to do it out of the cage. So, also, we're going to be using the RAM card. This is the RAM board tester card. Now, this is the one that we actually plug the RAM card into to test it. It also has the dip switch on it. Now, what got me confused here, on the card rack board test instructions for the RAM test, it says the dip switch settings must be as follows, and it gives you the settings. 1, 3, 5, and 7 are off, and 2, 4, 6, 8 are on. Then it says press reset button S1 on RAM test card to clear system. That's after you've powered it up. Now, does this mean the dip switches for the RAM card, these dip switches on this card, or does it mean the dip switches on, I'm going to call this the main test card? Or do you set both of them? It didn't say set both of them. It just said the dip switch settings must be as follows. Okay. Well, I went ahead and I looked at the test for the pattern board. And the setup for the pattern board, you don't use this card. This card is not used in the pattern board test. Only the main card here is used on the pattern board test. I hope I'm not getting everybody confused here, because I'm confused. But if you look at the pattern board test, you know, so you remove the RAM test card, so we don't use that. Remove the card rack board tester from J4 and insert it into J6. So you take this out of J4 and put it in J6. Remove the two RAM test proms, X4 and X5 on the card rack tester, and insert the two pattern test proms, okay. Connect the video cable J2 of the card rack board tester to pins 11 and 12. Insert the bad pattern card into the 50 pin connector card rack board tester, and then you press the reset button, and that you test it, okay. It also says here that the dip switch is for future use. So does that mean it doesn't matter where the dip switches are? That's just got me a little confused there. It also says connectors J1 and J5 are not used at this time. Okay. Well, on the main test card, here's J5. So that connector is not used at this time. It also says J1, and J1 is over here on the RAM board test card, which is the exact same pin count as the other board. So we don't have to worry about that, but I'm still wondering about the dip switch settings, okay? So I did some searching online, and I found somebody that was selling a set a while back, and they still had the pictures up. So I looked on my computer and took a close-up of the both of the dip switch settings, and both of them are set to the settings that it says to set it in a tester right here. 1, 3, 5, and 7 are off, and 2, 4, 6, 8 are on. And this set right here, that's the way both of the boards are set. So I'm going to set them both the same. And just in case, I did somewhere, I wrote down, because these boards here aren't set that way. So I wrote down the on the RAM board tester, it's set up different. So I wrote that down, so if I have to, I can go back to those settings if it doesn't work. Okay. So what I need to do is change these dip switch settings here. Let's see if this is the one. I don't remember if this one or the other one. I think it's the other one. I think this one is set right. All right, the dip switch settings 1, 3, 5, and 7 are off. So down is off. So 1, 3, 5, and 7 are off. And 2, 4, 6, 8 are on. 2, 4, 6, 8 are on. Okay, this board is set correctly according to the directions. Now this one here is set 1, 2, 4, 6, and 8 are on, and 3, 5, and 7 are off. So that means they got one on, which should be off. Okay, so we just changed that one dip switch setting. So now the off should be 1, 3, 5, and 7. That's right. And the on should be 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay. We should be back on track now. And before I stick the card in, I'm also going to, step 10 says move the black slide switch on the card rack board tester to position 1. So that's this right here, and it is in position 1. Okay, so we got that. All right, I think we're good to go now. So let's put the card rack board tester into J4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that goes right next to the CPU board. And insert the RAM test card into position J6. So J6 is the closest one here. Okay. Now we got that set up. Now, I think we're going to be able to put the RAM card in this slot. No problem. We don't have to worry about taking these braces off. So what I did is I took one of my good RAM cards that I repaired in a prior video. This is the one that I checked with the other way of checking them by putting that test ROM that two people made. I believe it's David Turner and Mark Speth. Both made a test ROM for Gorf. And I made a ROM of each one, and I used both of them. And both of them worked great. And that's how I found out the bad RAM on this card. So what I did was I went ahead and got the card that I repaired. I put sockets in the two that were bad. So I just pulled those RAMs out, and I put two of the bad RAMs back in it. So this one and this one is known bad. Okay. Now, the only thing that I don't know, yeah, it's only one way this will go. It has to go like this, because if you try to plug it in like this, the board is going to hit the card cage. Okay. Okay, so this is the board we're testing right there. All right, now what I got to do is, well, before I put that in, we got to hook the power up. So let me hook the power up here. Okay. We put our test card back in. Or the RAM card we're going to test. Alright, now we're going to hook up a video cable. So over here is the yellow video cable. This has stereo input, so you can use this as like a stereo monitor to hook it up to whatever you want. So we're just going to hook the video up, since that's all we got is video. And see, that's already on, so I'm going to turn this on. Let's see if I can get both of them in the picture here. Okay, it is on, but it's nothing going to it yet. Okay, well, this is the moment of truth. I guess we have to power it up now, and it says press the red reset button, S1, on the RAM test card to clear system. Okay, well, that is hiding under here, but let's see, we may not have to do that. Okay, let's switch on the power supply and see what happens. Whoa! We had smoke and fire, and I bet I know exactly what it is. Those titanium capacitors. Tantalum capacitors. Okay. You know, I should have checked those before I started. So I'm just going to pull both of these boards out. Okay, that one's not hot. Yep, that's what blew. Blew that one right there. Okay. Well, we have some repairs to do. So let me go ahead and do those and then we'll be back. Okay, well, let's try that again. I went ahead and replaced all of the tantalum capacitors. There's 4 of them total. The one that blew up on the main board is 3 of them. So I replaced all 3 of these. And on the RAM test card there's 1, so I replaced 1. These are 15 microfarad at 20 volts. And I happen to have some of the original style, which is new old stock, but that's all I had, so that's what I put in. I put them in my Gorf boards too, so we shall see. So far they're holding up in the Gorf board. Okay, so let's put this back in the card cage. The main test board, we said it went into position, this goes into J4, so that goes right next to the CPU board. Okay. And now we put the RAM board tester, that goes in J6, which is the one on the end right here. Okay. Are we ready to try this again? All right, lay it down. Now what did I do with the RAM board? RAM card. Nope, that's not it. Okay, here it is. This is the one that's got our 2 bad RAMs in it here. All right. Turn the monitor on. Oh, okay. Here it goes again. Oh boy, we got a picture here, although it's rather dim. And the sink looks a little messed up. Let me cut this light off. Boy, that's a horrible picture. All right, let me see if I can get a picture with my other camera here. And something looks a little messed up because I got 2 flashing, but 1 is not on the board. That one looks correct. That's bad. And right there where it's nothing at is where the bad one is. But that one is off the screen. So, that's just weird. So something must be messed up with the board. Let me reseat all the boards and see if anything changes. back off. All right, let's try that again. Power it up. Okay, that must have been what it was. We still got, looks like interference, but that might be because of the cheap coax cable I used here. It's not shielded very good. But we definitely got the two RAM blinking, positions blinking, and they're the ones that are bad on the board here. So that's working fine. Okay. I think my monitor is also a little weak. It's old and the backlight isn't as bright as it used to be. Let me cut it off and let me pull this board out. And let's put another good board in it and see what it says. Now, if I remember correctly, if you got a good board, I think all of them are supposed to blink. I believe that's the way it is. So let's turn it on. Okay, maybe none of them blink. They're all good, I guess. I'm still wondering about that interference, though. Like I say, it's probably because it's unshielded, and I do live right across the street from a 50,000 watt AM radio station, which plays, ever since I've lived here for the last 25 years, I get the radio station over my telephone, used to come in over my television, and VCRs and stereo systems, and yeah, it's been a mess. But and it even comes in some of my video games every now and then through the audio amplifiers if they're not shielded real good. So, okay, well, we can live with this. I don't know of any other thing to do as far as shielding goes. Could try another monitor, I guess. But we can see okay. I mean, everything looks good. All right. Let me look at the instructions, and it's supposed to be another test. Let me see. Okay. Press the reset button, S1 on the RAM test card to clear system. A bad RAM location will flash on video screen, and on flashing RAMs indicate all RAMs are good. Let me push the reset button and see what effect that has. If I can find the reset button. That just reset it. A bad RAM location will flash on the video screen, and on flashing RAMs indicate all RAMs are good. Move the black slide switch on the card rack board tester to position 2. Clear system again by pressing red reset button on the RAM test card S1. Okay, well, before I turn any switches, I'm going to cut power because it didn't say whether you could do it with the power on or the power off. So here's the switch. I'm going to put it on position 2. Okay. Clear the system again by pressing the red reset button on the RAM test card S1. If the rainbow test shows garbage, check the video output on the 74LS166. When RAMs are all good and rainbow pattern is clear, this indicates a good RAM card. Proceed to pattern card test. All right, well, let's turn it on and see what happens. All right, I'm going to push the reset button like it said to do. And I have no idea what it's doing. For one thing, it's not in color. Doesn't appear to be. I'm going to push the reset button again. Nothing. Push the reset button on the other card. Nothing. All right, let me cut it off. Turn it back on. Well, the screen is cleared up. I'm going to push the test button again here. If I can find it. All right, it says when RAMs are all good and rainbow pattern is clear, this indicates a good RAM card. Proceed to pattern card test. If the rainbow test shows garbage, check the video output 74LS166. All right, well, let me try a few things and I'll be back and see if it's a difference. Okay, well, I reseated the cards and I checked the voltages and the voltages look great. So let me turn it on. Okay, now I'm getting this blank screen. Then if I push the reset switch on the RAM tester board. Nope. It was doing something different a minute ago. There we go. Maybe it's got something to do with I don't have a reset line hooked up. And maybe those reset switches aren't working. Maybe they're dirty and they're not, because when I pushed the reset on the main test board here, nothing, there we go. It did do something. It went to that pattern. Now, is that correct? Is it doing a test? I know when you check it on the RAM test in the game, it takes a while to go through the RAM test, so maybe we just got to wait for it to finish doing a test? I don't know. Like I say, I wish, you know, somebody had made a video earlier of how this actually works, because I don't have a clue if it's working correct or not. But if anybody is out there that has a set of these and have used them, let me know. Is this correct behavior? Somehow I don't think so. Should it be color? Should I be getting a color signal through the video? I mean, it is a color monitor. And as far as I know, yeah, it's plugged in right. That looks like that's all it's going to do. Let me try hitting the reset again. Let me try hitting the reset again here. The reset on the RAM test board is doing nothing. Let me try the reset again on the main test board. All right, right now that's doing nothing. All right, let me power down. Power back on. Okay, now I get that. All right, now let me try the reset button. Made a little change that time. All right, let me hit the other reset button on the RAM card. Nothing. Cut it off. Turn it back on. All right, let me hit the reset button on the RAM card. Well, it did something. But what, I don't know. All right, well, unless I got a problem with these cards, maybe I can try another type of video cable. One that's shielded better, and maybe even try another monitor. So, trying to think, what other monitor do I have that I could hook up to this? So I'll show you that it works. It's got a DVD in it here. Wait a minute, that's the wrong button. Okay, there we go. See? It's definitely working. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with the monitor here. Huh. Okay, I wonder if that's what it's supposed to do. All right, well, I think I'm going to leave this one right here and see if I can get some feedback. So if anybody knows how this thing is supposed to work, is it working correctly? I don't know. So let me know in the comments, and Hopefully somebody has a set of these and have used them and knows what this is supposed to do. All right, let me try one more thing. I'm going to take this card back out. And now what did I do with the other card? All right, let me find what I did with the other card. Okay, I was hiding it under my paperwork here. All right, let's put the one with the bad ram in it again and turn it on and see what that looks like. Okay. I got to turn the switch back to position 1. Okay. Now let's turn it on. All right. Well, at least that's still working. I mean, it's still got the interference like on it a little bit, but it's not as bad as it was. And it's still showing us the 2 bad rams. So at least it's working for the ram test. I'll give it that much. And the picture that I did see online, I did find, well, as a matter of fact, there was a video of them showing this test right here. I forget. It was on YouTube. A short little video with no explanation, I don't think. I don't believe it was, but it did show them testing a RAM board, and it did look just like this, only I don't think it had these squirrely lines in it, but those squirrely lines might be because of the radio station across the street from me, so that's normal interference. But I don't think they did the other test with the, it says a rainbow test shows garbage, check the video output. All right, we could check the 74LS166. I can check that in my tester. When rams are all good and rainbow pattern is clear, this indicates a good RAM card. Proceed to pattern card test. All right, let me pull that board out and I'll check that 74LS166 if it's in a socket. I don't know. Let me check it and see. Okay, well, I done looked at the main test board and I done looked at the RAM test board, and neither one of them has a 74LS166. So I don't know what they're talking about. 74LS166. Check the video output, 74LS166, but it's in parentheses. Well, I would think the video output would be on the board that has the video output. And there's only one chip here that's socketed, but that is a 74LS138. 138, not a 166. Okay. Let me pull that chip since it's socketed. Maybe somebody changed it and put another chip in. Alright, so this is a 74 LS 138. Let's see what it says. 74 LS 137 138. Alright, well that's a good chip. But is it the correct chip that goes in there? Well, that's the only one socketed on that. We have a 74 LS 32. Then we have an MC 14572. And then we have a CD 4066 BCN. And these up here are listed X1, X2, X3. They look like they might... Well, no, the X1 is a 74 LS 244. X2 and X3 is MM 2114, so I guess that's RAM. I wonder, since they're labeled X1, X2, and X3, did somebody put that 74 LS 244 in there and it's not supposed to be there? No. Guess I got more. Let's see. That's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a 20 pin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that's a 20 pin socket. Where these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18 pin. So it's 2 more pins. So no, that can't be so. Now this board has got 74 LS 244, another 244. What is this one? 74 LS 245. And this one is a 74 LS 14. So I don't know where they're getting the 74 LS 166 at. Alright, let me stop here and see if I can do a little more research and see if I can maybe find that picture and blow it up on my computer and see what chips are in the other boards that somebody had online. See if I can solve this mystery. Okay, well, I've gone over these boards, and the 2 test boards, I pulled everything out of them that I could pull out of them and check all the socketed chips. Everything tests good. It had 2 2114 RAMs in it. They checked good. I checked in with my Inquisitor. So I can't find any socketed chips wrong. Now, what it refers to in the manual, that 74 LS 166, I couldn't find that nowhere. The only place I can find that is on the game logic board, and that's not used in this setup. So I don't know what they're talking about there. But I did come up with something interesting. It turns out that the one card that you need in the card cage, the 1 RAM card, has to be good. So while I was swapping boards around, I pulled that board out and put another supposedly good board in and checked it. And it turns out that it says that it has a bad RAM on it. So that could have been part of the problem, but I don't think it really was. So I also pulled the logic board out, the game board. Is it the game board or the? Let's see, which one is it? No, the CPU board. It uses the CPU board, not the game board. And I put another good working CPU board and I get the same results. So let's go through my boards. I took all my RAM boards out of my spare card cages. I haven't touched the ones that's in my game yet, but all these were supposed to have been good except for the one that I pulled the 2 working chips out that had sockets in it and I put 2 bad chips in it. So let's go through them. They're numbered 1 through 6, and number 6 is being used in the card cage. I've already tested that, and that tests good. So we'll start with board number 1. Let me turn the power on here. And as you can see, let me see if I can get it a little bit better. It's, I don't have a way of, the only way I can darken the picture up on this is with a remote control, and I don't have the remote control with me. I still have it, but anyway, you ought to be able to see that pretty good. I might be able to darken it up in post-production, but as you can see, the picture looks pretty good. It still has a few lines in it, though. Some interference, but it's a little better than what it was. Anyway, no blinking ICs on this one, so this board should be good. So we cut it off. So board number 1 is good. All right, let's try board number 2. Cut it on. And it looks like board number 2 is good, which is supposed to be. All right, board number 3 is supposed to be a good board because we tested them a few months ago. Let's find out. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is a good board, but this is the one that I put the 2 bad chips in. So that is the position that they're in. This one here and this one here. So, okay. So this is really a good board, but it's showing the bad chips that I put in it. So that's a good test. It's working there. All right. This is good. Tested this back in January 23rd. So let's see what this one does. Okay, it's coming up with a blank screen. All right, well, let's push the reset button here. Well, it's showing good. Let's cut it off and cut it back on again. Okay, it might just be because I don't have a reset circuit hooked up on it because I'm using a switcher power supply. Okay, well, that board is good. All right, let's try board number 5. Okay, that's the one that's supposed to be good, and it's showing I got a bad chip there. So we can confirm that by pulling that chip out, putting a socket in, and checking it with the Inquisitor. So that's going to be the next thing we'll do. I'll go ahead and do that off camera since I got a video showing me desoldering the chip and putting sockets in. So if you want to see how I do it, go back a few months and search for it. It's about the Rom Ram cards. I have a couple videos on them. Because one of them, all the Rams was bad except for one. The one right up here was the only good one on the board. All the rest of these were bad, and I had to put sockets and new chips in all of them. So, all right, well, I'm going to mark this one. Find me a little tag here, and I'm going to mark it. And getting kind of late tonight, so tomorrow I'll probably pick back up on this, and I'll do this off camera, but it'll be an instant jump for you, and we'll find out about that. But first, okay. All right, I'll mark that one. Let's try something else. Let's go ahead and flip the test switch to position number 2. And that's supposed to be the next test. I lost my sheet of paper here. Okay. Let's do the other part of the RAM test. A switch to switch. Now let's take a good board. Well, let's start back over and we'll do all of them and see if there's any difference in the boards. I'll start with number 1, board number 1. All right. Now, what we're supposed to do is move the black slide switch on card rack board tester into position 1. No, that was the part we just did. Move the black slide switch on the card rack board tester to position 2. Clear system again by pressing the red reset button on the RAM test card, S1. If the rainbow test shows garbage, check the video output, 74LS166. When RAMs are all good and rainbow pattern is clear, this indicates a good RAM card. Proceed to pattern card test. Okay. So let's see what they mean by garbage and a good rainbow pattern is clear. I don't know how you can have a rainbow pattern on a black and white picture, but anyway, here goes. I said turn it on. Okay, well, we got a dark square on one side and a white square on the left. And it does have some, that just might be interference. Let me hit the reset and see if it does anything. All right, well, I hit the reset and bam. I don't know what that is. Is that good or bad? Now, if you remember, this card number 1 tested good. Let me try to reset on the main board. Doesn't make any difference. Cut it off. Turn it back on. Whoa. See, that's different. Let me hit the reset button. And that's completely different. Let me cut it off. Cut it back on. Yeah. All right, let me reset the card. All right, that's what we get. Let's try card number 2. That tested good too. So let's see what we get on that one. See if we get something different or if we get something consistent. Well, that kind of straightened up, and now it's got interference, but it's got, instead of 2 squares, it's got 4 squares, 2 white and 2 dark. Let me hit the reset button if I can find it. Okay, well, that's different. Let me cut it off, turn it back on again, see what happens. Okay, now we're getting what we got on the first card the first time I tried it. Could that be what it's supposed to look like if it's working? It's just got the slight interference, but we got a dark square on the right and a white on the left. All right, well, let me hit the reset. All right, let's let that go a little bit and see what happens. It takes the RAM test when you're using the Marks RAM test. It takes a while for the test to be completed, so maybe it's doing something similar. But somehow I don't think it is. Well, nope, it don't seem like it's going to be any difference, so. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, now this board is the one that I put the 2 bad chips in. So let's see what happens with 2 known bad chips on the board. Turn it on. Okay, well, that's different. Hit the reset. No difference. Cut it off, turn it back on. A little different. Let me hit the reset. Turn it off, turn it back on. Now we're getting a pattern that looks like a good pattern. What I thought might be a good pattern. Let me hit the, supposed to hit the reset switch. Okay, well, guess that means it's bad because we know for sure we got 2 bad chips on it there. Okay, here's another one that's supposed to be good. Let's see what happens to this one. Don't look good, does it? Whoa. This thing is just inconsistent on this part of the test. I don't know. And let me reseat it here. Now hitting the reset does nothing. Well, something changed there a second. Now, okay, well, don't know about that one. All right, let's try this one. This is the one that says it's bad. That one right there is bad. I hadn't marked it yet. But let's just for grins and giggles. Let's see what happens. Well, got a little bit different pattern. All right, let me hit the reset. It's definitely different. It's showing the lines in the white line in the black boxes and sort of a black line. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but it's got a real thin black line on the two white sides, and just like it's got the white line on the dark side. So that could be because it's got one bad RAM in it. I'm hit the reset on the main board. Doesn't seem to do anything. Hit the reset on the RAM card. It's not doing anything. All right, let me cut it off. Power it back up. Okay, now we got a white screen. Hit the reset on the RAM card. Okay, back to the lines in the middle of the rectangles. Okay, well, I don't know what to make of this. Also, did I mention I changed the card cages just in case we did have a problem with that reconditioned cage? This card cage hasn't been cleaned, but it is one of my spare card cages that the board sets came in, so it appears to be working. And I did, like I say, change the CPU board. This is the one I was originally using. I put one in that's got the original heatsink on it. But these were tested good, so these should be good, and it's producing the same results. So, I don't know what to make of it. One more thing, we're going to find out the first part of the test seems to be working fine. Now, if I pull this chip out and it tests bad, then we'll know that it works for finding the bad RAMs anyway. I don't know about that second part of the test. Maybe somebody can tell us about that, but I'll go ahead and first thing tomorrow I'm going to pull this chip out, test it, and replace it, and we'll go from there. All right, well, I went ahead and pulled this RAM chip out of the RAM card. This is the one that the RAM tester board said was bad, and this is a card that was previously tested good. So this was a surprise. So I went ahead and I took the chip out. Here's the bad chip. Well, supposedly bad. I soldered in a socket, and I put in a new RAM chip. Okay, well, let's test the chip that I took out to see if it really is bad. I have my Inquisitor right here. So I'm going to go ahead and stick the chip in the Inquisitor. It's set for 4027, which that's what this RAM is, 4027. And let's hit the test. There we have it. Test bad. So evidently the test card was correct. Okay. Well, now that I've put the socket in and put the new chip in, now we can test it again in the card tester, the RAM tester. Put the Inquisitor down here out the way. And we'll get this back out. And let's go ahead and we'll put the card in. Let's see, let me make sure I got it set correctly. Yep, switch is in position 1. All right. Let's go ahead and fire it up and see what we get. Hit the reset button. There we go. All of the rams are solid. None of them are blinking. The one that we put in, the new one, is solid. So, yeah, we now have a working RAM card. So that was one that was a surprise. I didn't realize that that had sometime between the last time I tested it. After I tested them, I put them in the card cages and boxed them up, and they've been there until I got it out for this test. So sometime between the last time I tested and getting them back out, that one chip has gone bad. So I guess these old chips are just subject to go bad anytime. So okay, so let's go ahead and see, what do we want to do next? Let me go ahead and cut this off. Now, I did make me a new video cable, and I found a one that has a better shield. And I don't know if you can see this. Let's see. This is the original wire for the video, and here's the new one. And as you can see, it's about twice as big, and this one has an actual shield that shields the center video cable. So, but it doesn't appear to have made any difference. So I don't think our problem was the shielded cable. So who knows why we still have those interference lines in the video. That's still a mystery. Okay, so we know that the RAM test works. If you got a bad RAM on the board, it will display it on the video, show you the position of the bad chip. So we know that part works, first part of the test. Still not sure about the second part, where we put the switch in position 2. Okay. And I'll put the card back in. And now we turn it on. And that's what we get on the screen. Let me hit the reset button. And I just don't know. So, let me tell you what we're going to do. Let's try all the other cards one more time. And see if they're all displaying the same thing. So here's board number 1, which we already tested and we're pretty sure it's good. So let's see what happens. Okay, let me hit the reset. Okay, that's board number 1. All right, let's try board number 2, which should still be another good board. It looks relatively the same. Hit the reset. I think that's displaying the same behavior now. All right. Now, here's board number 3, and this is the one that we still have our 2 bad chips in. So let's see what it looks like with the 2 bad chips. All right, just a blank screen. But if you notice, there's no interference on that screen. Let me hit the reset button. And now it looks basically like the other ones, except I think it might have a couple extra little lines over here on this side. All right, board number 4. This is supposed to be a good board, but this is the one that earlier in the year I had a hard time with this one because every single one of the RAM chips was bad except for the one up here. And that's the one that gave me a fit. And I wound up changing all these chips here and these chips here. I put all of them in new because I didn't want to believe that it could be possible that all these RAM chips could be bad. And that's before I had the Inquisitor, so I couldn't test the chips because I didn't have a tester to test them other than testing them in the board in the game with the ROM test in the game. So, okay, let's turn this one on. Okay, now this is giving us 2 separate screens, one white and one black, which we've seen before, but let me hit the reset button. And when you hit the reset, which the instructions say you're supposed to do, this go round, it seems like all of them are pretty much the same. They're displaying the same picture. So, and last but not least, this is the one that we just checked and just put the one chip in. We'll check it again. And when you hit the reset button, it looks like the other boards. So is this part of the test correct? Is this what it's supposed to do? Anybody that knows, that has a set of these boards and have tried it, let me know in the comments. Is this the same kind of behavior you got, or do you think I have a problem with the test boards? Now, regarding the note that it says on the pattern board test page, where it said, well, it was also on the card rack page too. It also said it. It said, if the rainbow test shows garbage, check the video output 74LS166. Well, I got thinking about that, and I had forgot that on these RAM cards here, this chip right here and this chip right here are LS 74LS 166s. So it might be talking about these 2 chips on the RAM board, that if you had a problem, to check these 2 chips. Now I do have a board that I socketed these in, but I don't have a 166 that's bad. I reckon I could pop it out and raise one of the legs on the chip and simulate it being bad, and we could test it that way. But I don't know. We might do something further with that later on. It depends on what I get in the comments, whether somebody tells me, you know, whether this test that's showing right now is correct or if it's not. So if anybody knows, just like I say, let me know in the comments. Well, I guess that is going to conclude part 1, which is testing the RAM cards using the RAM board tester. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll try the pattern board tester. And I do have 3 bad pattern boards. One that almost works, but has got a few problems. Then I got one that doesn't work at all. And then I got another one where the game boots up, but it's got like a rug pattern on the whole screen where you can see the screen behind the rug pattern, kind of like in the gaps. But yeah, it's got problems. So if we can get the pattern board test working, and maybe, and if it works, maybe it can give us some clues as to what we need to do to fix the pattern boards. So if you want to see that video, go ahead and be sure to subscribe to the channel. And as soon as I do the testing and try it out and video it and edit it, I'll get it right out. But I haven't even started on it yet at the time of filming this. So it's going to be probably a week at least. Could be more if I have some problems. But in the meantime, go back and check out some of my other videos. Check out the ones where I repair these RAM cards earlier this year. It's a part 2. Part 1 and part 2. Part 2 is the one where I really had problems. But anyway, if one thing that I absolutely learned is if you have any of these boards, I don't care if they're the RAM boards or the CPU boards or the pattern boards, any boards in the card cage that has these Kermit capacitors, tantalum capacitors, even if you have a working game and you haven't had any problems, these capacitors are also on the sound amplifier. I also have a video in the lineup where I have to replace one of these in the sound amplifier where it went bad. So if you have a Gore for Wizard of War or any of the other card cage games that has these capacitors and they haven't been changed, go ahead and change them out, because they're a ticking time bomb. As you've seen, when I first fired up these test cards, that one just went up in sparks, flames, and smoke. So yeah, definitely it's a necessity to replace these capacitors. So all right, well, that's going to do it for this video. And be sure to leave a comment, especially if you have one of these set of test boards and you know a little bit more about it, about how, if they're working properly or if I have some type of problem still. Please let me know. Until next time, this has just been another Arcade Fix. Have you had your arcade fix today? Okay, let's switch on the power supply and see what happens. Whoa! We had smoke and fire, and I bet I know exactly what it is. Those titanium capacitors. Tantalum capacitors. Okay, let's switch on the power supply and see what happens. Whoa! We had smoke and fire, and I bet I know exactly what it is.